Welcome back to BCW, proudly brought to you by Haltech. Today is the day. The GX81 is somewhat finished, but anyone who's built a project car knows nothing is ever really completed, but it's time to show you guys what we've done. If you're watching this on the release date, it's Friday the 5th of September and World Time Attack is on. And if you're in Sydney, come down and check out the car because it's currently on display. Let's check it out. So this project is pretty convoluted because it actually started out as another car. For anyone who's been watching for a while, we originally had a GBS12, which is a 1G mild hybrid Toyota Crown Comfort taxi. Even more convoluted story on how I came to actually own that car. But long story short, a friend of mine needed the running gear for his GBS12 because it had been jump started incorrectly at the port. Shout out to our boys on the Port Kembla docks for jump starting cars the wrong way, and damaged all the mild hybrid system. And as a result, he bought that as a parts car. We did a deal where I would own the shell and he would own the running gear. The car came over, he shipped his car down with the dead running gear. We swapped it over here in a couple of days. He drove that back to Queensland. I ended up with this Crown Comfort shell. This is also in about 2023, keep in mind, when the Cresta was in the US. We were doing drag and drives over there. The original plan for the GBS12 was to build a 1,000 horsepower 2J combo with an auto, put a 9-inch in the back of this thing, and basically build a sister car to the Cresta, but be JZ powered. That didn't really eventuate for a couple of reasons. A, it took a lot longer than I originally anticipated. B, the budget really kept blowing out, or the cost kept blowing out. So I had to kind of stem the bleeding at some point, and that was kind of the jump off point, was to revisit that car. And then we went from going Turbo 2J to Aspo 2J. And at that point I started looking around for ITBs and all sorts of other different pieces, and we were still pretty committed to the Crown Comfort idea, but I just didn't love the shape. There was no emotion for me in that car. Like I said before, the way I actually acquired that car, there was no kind of pre-thought to looking and wanting one of those cars. So I wasn't really that keen to keep throwing money into a car that I didn't really care about. Unfortunately, the GBS12, or that cab platform, is actually based on the X8, which is what this is. So things that I'd already got, like the Shockworks coilovers, went straight into this. The 2JZ ended up in this as well. We did actually remake the engine mounts to bring the engine and transmission forward. The floor pan's marginally different in some spots of this compared to the GBS12. I think it's actually done us favors moving it forward because we've ended up using a completely standard MX83 Cressida tail shaft, and the shifter's in a better position now in this car. The engine is a little bit further forward than I had anticipated or had hoped, but the other reason we also had to move it forward is the ITBs clashed on the firewall pretty badly, so we still had to massage the firewall a little bit, but moving it forward that 35mm definitely allowed us to have that rear trumpet in a usable position. Interestingly, I have seen someone else do a 2J with ITBs into this platform, and he's actually got elbowed trumpets, which wasn't really something that I thought about doing, but it is another good option instead of having to reposition the engine and then massage the firewall. Heaps of stuff's gone into this car as well. We've got a Great Wall transmission, we've got a twin plate clutch from Extreme. There's all sorts of bits and pieces in the engine. We've got Kelford cams and springs, Hypertune rocker cover. There's all sorts of goodies from Ross Performance. All these parts actually came from Golby's parts as well. Shembry's Custom did all the exhaust system. Wayne did an amazing job with that. The ITBs I sourced myself, and I've actually supplied another set to someone else you may see on YouTube pretty soon, and we may actually add those to the store at some point. There's all sorts of paint and panel going on. We painted the bay, the exterior parts of the car have been painted. We put Shockworks in it. We've done R33 brakes, Cisco Kids front lip, Cisco Kids boot wing. Miles has helped us out from Flux 3D with our cluster surround and a keypad mount. tons and tons of Haltech gears also going into this. Massive thank you to Dave from Wired by Dave, formerly from Haltech, who came out and helped us wire it all up. Also massive thank you to Haltech for supporting the project as well. We've got an R3 with a wideband, we've got a keypad, and we've got a UC10 of the main flagship components that are in the car, and they integrate so nicely. As we were building this car, we originally were actually going to use a stock JZX81 digital cluster, but during the course of the build, this has obviously taken a while to put together. Haltech actually launched custom firmware for the dash, which meant you could do your own custom layouts on the dash rather than just be tied to the Haltech layouts. And then as a result of that, there's now a Facebook group that's spawned from that, and people are designing and drawing all sorts of things. And one legend actually did the JZX81 digital dash layout to suit the UC10. So that was where we transitioned to go to the UC10, because it actually made the wiring for us much easier. So now I have the UC10 with the digital JZX81 overlay. So pretty stoked with that.
I thought that the Great Wall was actually a budget vehicle. So would that mean that the gearbox has a quality compromise?
The truth about the gearbox is we don't actually know what that's going to do. So no one, as far as I know, has actually used it in a performance setting. It is based on the Toyota R Series box. So physically, the gear sizing is the same as the Toyota box, but there's no real understanding of what the material quality is like. So we don't know what the gear set's going to do. We don't know what the synchros are going to do. The case is the case. It's actually quite well machined and it all looks pretty nice. The mid plate's cast iron, like same as the R Series gearbox. So I don't see any issues there. The input shaft we've actually put a Toyota R150 input shaft into, so then that means we can use Toyota clutches. The spacing is correct for the 2J bell housing, which also bolted on, and the output shaft is actually the same as the R Series spline as well. So there's quite a lot of reading Toyota's homework in that transmission. So, or reading Aizen's homework more so, because Toyota don't actually make that transmission, Aizen do. But yeah, it works, seems to work really well. I have driven the car. Obviously you guys have just seen the car being driven, so it does work. The one thing that I do need to do, because this was originally a reverse lockout with a pull type cable rather than the shifter lifting style, I deleted the reverse lockout, but the issue is first and reverse, because it's a dog leg up reverse style box, like similar, it's the same shift pattern as a Toyota 86. The issue I now have is reverse and first are very close together, and because that lockout's been deleted, you can actually go into reverse when meaning to go into first. So I think what I'm actually going to do is use either a door popper actuator or a central locking actuator to pull the cable, because I don't want to have the finger pull on the shifter. It's really not neat, and because I actually had to shorten the shifter to make it a car size, because this transmission was only available in commercial vehicles. The shifter's quite long because the floor console height and just the ergonomics of two different platforms don't really work together. So having to cut that shifter down meant losing the reverse lockout pull as well. So I think electronically adding one of those and then using the keypad on the Haltech, we can actually use a timed output. And my current brain is like, yeah, cool, we'll have 15 seconds, because all you need is to actually have that come up to get into reverse. Once it's in reverse, the detent can come back down. So that means we don't have to hold that output or that solenoid on any longer than necessary, but it gives you enough time to select reverse. And then as soon as you come back into any of the normal forward gears, that pin will drop back down and actually block you from going back into reverse again. So I think that's probably the only thing I really want to tweak with the transmission. But apart from that, it seems to drive really nicely, and yeah, pretty stoked with it.
And keeping on the same sort of theme, what's the diff ratio, and was having a sixth gear influential in your decision to go with the Great Wall gearbox?
The Great Wall gearbox, I just thought it was cool. Like, as much as Chinese car parts or Chinese gearboxes aren't that exciting, I thought just as a point of difference, let's try it and see what actually happens. So I saw a fella called Callum was actually playing around with one, putting it into I think a 130 series Crown that's got a 2J in it. And yeah, he's kind of been playing around with his one, and I don't think his car's running yet. But yeah, he was kind of the first person I've seen try and do anything with it. and I was actually looking at buying an R154 at the time. And the other issue I had is all the R154s you can buy brand new, like the JZX100 and the JZX110 transmission, the shifter's in the wrong spot. So even though it was a brand new transmission, they're retail, they're like $3,500, and then you've still got to do a shifter relocation. So realistically, you're probably at $4,000. So the Great Wall box, I think pretty sure I paid $800 for it. Then there's about $450 worth of Toyota genuine parts in it. So we need an input shaft bearing, a 4th gear synchro, an input shaft seal, and I think there was another part as well. Oh, a couple of snap rings. And then I paid it. I attempted it myself, and I kind of got in too far, and I'd never pulled a gearbox apart before, and I didn't really want to kill this one because they're not that easy to come by. So I ended up getting a gearbox shop to do it, and I think they retail about $450 to do the same job. So yeah, for under $2,000, including the bell housing, like it's a nice drop-in solution. The shifter position's great for this chassis. So yeah, I think on that line, it's probably one of the better gearbox options. What was your other question? Something about diff ratios. This is kind of like the Sigma reimagined, I guess, for want of a better term, like ASPO, manual, low, like short diff ratios, cool wheels, like all that kind of vibe. So I really wanted to kind of embody that original concept or that original build into this. So rather than make 500 kilowatts, I wanted to have ASPO, pretty perky, and short diff ratios basically give you 50 kilowatts. Like it just livens the whole thing up. So we did do a diff conversion. We actually put a Toyota 86 diff into it. We modified the subframe so it's a direct fit, and sort of mismatched parts together. So the diff itself is 86. The drive flanges and the CVs are MX83 Cressida. This is a GX81 platform. So originally it had smaller diff. It had an F-series diff, which is a 7.5-inch crown wheel. So the drive shafts aren't compatible with the 8-inch one, which is the G series, which is very common to a ton of Toyotas. So yeah, that was, I guess, the biggest change in the rear end, and we did go for a 411 rear ratio. This, interestingly enough, this actually had 4.3s standard because it was 2-litre auto NA. So Toyota was doing what we were trying to do, was just maximize what they had. I thought 4.3s might be a little bit short, because I did speak to one person actually who has used this box in a conversion, so I do lie. And he said he put it in an IS300. So even with the stock IS300 rear diff is a 3.5, and he said even with that, they're pretty usable ratios. So yeah, it seems to be pretty good with the 411s in it. In saying that, I haven't actually attempted highway speed yet. The one thing that I will mention, which I think we've already covered by now, in the drive of the video earlier, the speedo is way out. So it looks extremely fast, but we haven't tuned this yet. It's not calibrated properly. So we are going to go to Haltech in the future with Scotty, and we're going to tune it there. We're going to configure things like more of the keypad functions. Not all of the keypads configured yet. Obviously tune the car, set up other things like vehicle speed, do all sorts of cool bits and pieces, configure the cruise control. So yeah, I'm really excited to actually go to Haltech and spend the day with Scotty, because everyone always learns something when we hang out with Scotty.
Does it sound like you imagined it would?
Yeah, you know what's interesting actually, I did drive it up and down the car park a few times with the bonnet off and before we actually refitted the under dash components, and it was phenomenal when it had no firewall and no bonnet. Now that that's been added, it shut it up, but it still has that same note. So I'm really stoked with it. The one thing I am surprised with, the SP mufflers are so quiet. It's shut it up heaps. So at idle, it's super quiet. And if like, this is actually exactly what I wanted, because I wanted this kind of car that I could put my family in and cruise around on a weekend and not be offensive. I wanted to go EFI over carbies to kind of avoid that stinky fuel smell, all the fuel vapors, and so far so good. This thing's phenomenal. I did make a point of retaining all of the emissions, like the vapor control stuff. So we got charcoal canister, the tank's vented correctly. All of that's been retained. So even the bleed line from the charcoal canister actually runs up to one of the ITB trumpets, and that's configured the same way it was on the 1G. So it should actually work as per the Toyota original design. So yeah, the goal has been, as much as it is to make a cool car, make it so that it's not offensive for my wife and my kids and not have to deal with the fuel smells and some of the stuff that didn't quite get there with the Sigma.
Aesthetically, is it finished?
Yes and no. So there's a bit of a story with the wheels. The Autostrada Modernas are a wheel I've wanted for like 20 years, and I'm not going to say exactly what's happened yet because I don't know where we're going to be in the discussions with the supplier by the time this episode actually comes out. But let's just say I've paid a substantial amount of money for wheels that haven't arrived yet. And the quoted delivery time on those wheels was 30 to 45 days. I paid for those on the 19th of May. And by the time you're watching this, it's the 5th of September. So you do the maths, it doesn't math. That being said, I've wanted these forever. Since I had my Subaru SVX, I wanted to put Autostrada Modernas on it. Yes, they are fake center lock wheels, but I don't care. But back to your question about aesthetics, I will be refurbing the wheels because these are as bought on Yahoo. Unfortunately, like I said, due to the timelines and stuff not arriving, these were almost an emergency Hail Mary. They have arrived. They're perfectly usable. They are a little bit buckled. A couple of the lips have got rash. So the plan will basically be to restore these to original specs. We're not going to relip these or anything because they're actually fitted. So these in the Moderna catalogue, or the Autostrada catalogue, these are R32 GTR fitment. So they're 17 by 8.5 plus 18, I think, and 17 by 9 plus 24. So that basically means the face and the lip is exactly the same, and the barrel is half an inch narrower on the front. I did originally put 215/45 17s all the way around, and the rear looked absolutely ridiculous. So I put a 235/45 17 on the back. There is a minor rolling diameter difference front to rear, but because the car's not all-wheel drive, it doesn't actually care. And I think that filling that rear guard out made it look much better. I'm sure someone's going to ask about why the car has so much camber. The X8 platform, the more you lower it, the more the camber it actually adds. I can go and buy $1 million worth of arms, but that may be something that we revisit later. And it'll actually depend how it drives and how it wears tyres and all that sort of stuff. So this is as finished, like we've literally finished. I was putting this together this morning before Gian came here, little fiddly bits and changes and stuff. So as much as it's finished visually, there's still things that I want to tackle going forward. Like a stereo, like currently this has all of the original stereo in it. So I'm going to Japan next week. So the goal will be to try and go to an up garage and actually buy some of the carbon Kevlar speakers, the Pioneer style ones. I do have some 4-inch ones which will go in the front. I want to get some 6s for the rear, and I want to try and find an old Pioneer amplifier because I've actually got an old Pioneer twin 12-inch sub box that will go in the car. And Pioneer are just about to launch their retro head unit. I can't, as far as I'm aware, Pioneer Australia are not going to sell it here, but I have already found a car audio company in the UK that are prepared to actually supply it to us and ship it from the UK. So I've basically got one of those on pre-order at the moment. So hopefully by mid-October, that'll be here. We'll be doing the audio. We're going to actually sound dead in the cabin as well. Not the floor or anything. I'm not going to touch the floor because Toyota's actually done a pretty good job of it. But we'll go through, probably do the doors and some other pieces, do the boot especially. I don't really want to have that traditional subwoofer number plate rattle. So we'll be going through and deadening the boot and sort of tidying up that way. But yeah, I'm pretty excited to actually do a stereo install again because I haven't done one for years and years. So should be pretty cool.
Going back to the wheels.
Yes.
How many did you buy? Like in this situation?
So technically I've paid for 8. Well, I paid a deposit on the first set, and this is a second set that I bought off Yahoo and had them air freighted.
What do you do for a spare wheel in this situation with a lowered car?
Currently, there's the factory space saver. The problem is that's not going to clear the R33 brakes on the front. So if I got a flat on the front, technically I'd have to move the rear wheel to the front and then put a space saver on the back. That being said, I am also actually building a space saver version of a Moderna because I did have some Modernas that I bought years and years ago from Mark at Barrel Brothers. I got 2, I think there's enough parts to build 2 wheels plus bits and pieces to build a third one. So the plan is to actually build a 17 by 5 and then get a 17-inch Space Saver tire, and that will live in the boot in the Space Saver spot. Now that we are going to actually be restoring these wheels rather than put a set of brand new wheels on it, I'll probably restore all 5 to the same condition, and yeah, we'll tie it together that way.
Assuming that the car runs and drives nicely, do you think you'll ever go to the wet pan?
In this?
In this?
No. It's too nice, and even from a paintwork perspective, when you go on the wet pan, that concrete dust mixed into the water etches into the paint, and it's just not a car I want to do that to. Like, it was never supposed to be that. I have no interest in it. The Falcon, I would be anxious on this on the wet pan unless there was no one else on the wet pan. Like, I've been in some pretty hairy situations on the wet pan, some pretty near misses, and in the Falcon, don't care, man. Parts are cheap. Like, literally those headlights are $1,000. Like, the corner lights are $300. A pair of guards is $1,000. A bonnet is $500. The front bar is actually the same as an MX83, so that doesn't matter. But most of these other front components, they're just unobtainium. Like, even a tail light, a pair of tail lights is $450. So if I damage the quarter, there's going to be $3,000 in repairing and repainting that. So it was never really the goal for this car. Like, I will take it to the drags because we are going to go full circle, and I want to do a drag race episode and actually compare the Aspo Crown to this, because that is kind of the bookend of this project. It was always supposed to be, yeah, cool, we're going to drag race it at the start and drag race it at the finish. Now, I know this has totally changed strategy and the whole idea of the build and everything, but I still feel like that'd be a cool bookend to go, cool, performance, because the performance of this car won't change. Like, I'm not going to be changing engines, transmissions, diff ratios. Well, in saying that, I might build a bottom end and do higher comp, but we'll see. It'll also probably actually depend on how it properly drives, and if I like driving it the way it is, why bother spending more money? So we'll see how it goes. But yeah, I don't think that's a long way. It's a long-winded way of saying no, I'm not going to skid pan the car.
That's fine. I feel like dragging it is the happy medium. I just wanted to hear it driven spiritedly.
Yeah. Yeah, it will be cool to get that audio of just flat out over 400 meters.
Yeah. Okay, legitimately final question.
Yeah.
Have you decided whether or not you're going to take the plastic off the door trim?
I'm still on the fence because I'm in two mindsets. And actually, you know what? If you're at Time Attack right now, you will know if I pulled it off or not, because we're clearly pre-shooting this. The reason I'm on the fence is because 3 out of the 4 door cards have it. So I feel like it should be an all or nothing deal. I'm probably more pro remove the plastic, because the driver's door card has never had it while I've had it. And the other thing is, probably 90% of people won't actually understand why it's there. I'm like, oh, this whole interior looks great, and then it's got this shitty plastic on the door trims. So I think I'm definitely leaning towards team no plastic.
I'm with you there. Final question again.
Sure.
Is there any part of the build process that you'd have done differently?
I probably wouldn't have built the car twice on 2 different platforms. 2 things I wouldn't have done. I wouldn't have bought brand new wheels. In hindsight, I should have listened to Mark and bought secondhand wheels and refurbed them. I should have bought the car I actually wanted rather than a car that presented itself.
Sorry, can you expand on that? As in the car that you actually wanted, which is this, not the...
I've actually wanted, so I guess another side quest. We went to Japan in like 2014 or 2013 with Mighty Car Mods and bought a GX81 Chaser. So that thing was an absolute basket case. The body itself was totally trashed, but the running gear was really, really good. We cut that car in half, shipped it to Australia, and then installed it in a Australian delivered Series 2 MX83 Grande, which is very closely related to the GX81 Mark II Grande, which is what this is. So it had factory limo, grey leather, was quite a tidy car. I think it had ABS, annoyingly, which was my one prerequisite when buying one of these, was a non-ABS car. And 2 reasons: A, the ABS system's actually junk in these old things, and B, they fail. So legally, you can't actually remove ABS from a non-ABS. You can't remove the ABS system from a car that came factory fitted with it. So if the car didn't come with it, free for all. And the other thing actually worth mentioning, these these cars that came with ABS, they actually cut the inner guard out, or the inner guard was punched differently for an ABS car. So where the battery is now on this is where the ABS unit would have lived on a Series 2 GX81 or JZX81 or MX83. So, yeah.
Are you going to put Ganadors on it?
No. How rich do you think I am? Ganadors are so overrated, bro. Ooh. Ganadors and VSKFs are like the best friends of the overhyped US version of JDM.
I feel like I should cut the camera before you say any of that.
No, send it. I do have a massive list of people that I need to thank, so please excuse me, I'm going to read off my phone. But first and foremost, a massive thank you to the viewers. You guys are part of the reason why we put all this together, continually supporting the channel, all of our Patreons, our members, all the guys that really engage with the content, comment, share it. We really do appreciate it. Anyone who's subscribed in the last few months, we have had a bit of a pickup in subscribers, so really appreciate all you guys supporting the channel. Massive thank you to Dave, Wayne, Paulie, Taylor, and also to Miles for your continued efforts and work on the vehicle. It really has come together and it truly is a team build. Massive thank you also to Justin at Colton Classic. We originally purchased the car from him and it was a really good car to actually start with. Massive thank you also to Dan Beekmans. He has been a consistent point of harassment from me, questions about X8s and all sorts of stuff, and always happy to help. If you are after secondhand parts, highly recommend checking Dan out. He's got a whole yard full of stuff and he's on all the Cressida pages, so if there's something you need, by all means reach out to him. Also a massive thank you to all of our project partners. We've got SP Mufflers, Ben Brothers, Haltech, Shockworks Suspension, Aerocut, Hypertune, Shembry's Custom Shop, Wide by Dave and Flux 3D. Those guys have all gone out of their way to help us put this project together, and we literally couldn't have done it without them. So yeah, if you are looking for parts or services, by all means, please check out the guys that support us and hopefully they can help you out as well. Thanks for watching, guys. We'll see you next time. Oh, thanks, Gian, for supporting me as well.
Yeah, me too.
Thanks for all your questions that
no worries.
Only one guy hates.
Thanks for sitting through the windows too. It's not microphones that are bad. Check out the trees.
Trees are sideways.
Yeah. How cool. Looks freaking amazing. You got to be happy with it.
I am happy. I feel whelmed though.
What does that mean?
I'm like, oh, the car's
Now it's
done, but like, what now?
Driving Falcons.
Yeah, but people don't like the Falcons like we like the Falcons.
It's true.
I'm already looking at buying another car.
Oh, goodness.